Yo, what's going on, guys? And some more news from my colleague at hoopshype.com talking about the Atlanta Hawks and their executive search. So let's read the report from Michael Scotto. If you guys want to just check it out yourself, link should be in the description. Now, we knew the other week they fired Landry Fields and promoted Onsi Saleh as general manager and began a search for a president of basketball operations. We know several candidates have emerged, with Trae Young's extension and the team being on the cusp of becoming a playoff team. This offseason seems to be a big one. Now, first off, besides Landry Fields, he was fired with 1 season remaining in his contract, according to league sources, so they're only paying him with 1 year left. And Hawks Vice President of Basketball Operations, Grant Liffman, departed from the organization, reported by Chris Haynes, and Hawks Executive Advisor Chris Emmons is not expected to remain with Atlanta. Now, who are the people that they're targeting? Bob Myers and Tim Connelly, we talked about previously, are top of the list. Now, Bob Myers has the Suns and the Hawks both being interested in him. Suns are closer to his home base, and the Hawks are the team that I think have a better future and easier project to work with. Tim Connelly's not leaving Minnesota. They've given him team equity, and I expect him to remain there, as the Timberwolves hope to sign Connelly an extension. And Myers is enjoying his role with ESPN, and around the league, people would believe that it would take such a large salary and a perfect fit for him to return as an executive. So what does that mean? The other candidates that have arisen is the Orlando Magic senior advisor in basketball operations, John Hammond, who was the one who discovered and drafted Giannis Antetokounmpo and built the first championship team iteration that then John Horst took over. NBA G League President Shareef Abdur-Rahim, if you guys don't remember, played for the Grizzlies. And others, potentially league sources say, those others are Elton Brand, who is currently the general manager of the Sixers, who was the guy who took over after Jerry Colangelo and Sam Hinkie. So while those are candidates who could join the Hawks, there's more potentially in the background that we don't know about. So I personally think, obviously, the ideal choice, if you're really trying to become a contender, it's Bob Myers. He's a proven championship architect. Bob Myers built the Golden State Warriors into a dynasty with 4 championships in 2015, 2017, 2018, 2022. He knows how to build around a superstar and a three-point shooting aficionado that Trae Young is, while maintaining his strong supporting cast. His experience managing star egos like Durant, Draymond, Clay, Curry would help Trae Young's extension talks and keeping the locker room stable. His ability to reshape rosters around the pieces they have in Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, Onyeka Okongwu, and Zachary Risichet, and he would be able to retool as he's excelled at drafting with Poole, Looney, Moody, Curry. I guess he didn't draft Curry, but he did bring in a bunch of guys over the years. And he knew when to bring in guys like Andre Iguodala and John Livingston. He could maximize Atlanta's assets. They have multiple firsts that they can trade, several expiring contracts, and he wouldn't be rushed like he would be within Phoenix. So I think he would be a guy who would make minimal mistakes, and his background as an agent would give him an edge in negotiations. And I think Atlanta wants a guy who's going to be able to tread carefully between appeasing Trae and overcommitting. So with Chris Emmons, Landry Fields, and Grant Liffman all gone, I think the Atlanta Hawks know that they need to rebuild their leadership. So I bet you Myers, though, would probably want several $1 million annually, as it will be hard to lure him from ESPN unless ownership offers him full autonomy and a strong vision. I don't think Tim Connelly is a realistic option, so we're just going to move off of that one. Look, John Hammond's a solid safe one. He's an experienced executive who built the core of the Bucks championship team. He was the Giannis pick, Jabari Parker, Chris Middleton, brought in Brook Lopez. He could oversee a longer-term rebuild, similar to how he did in Orlando, if Atlanta pivots that direction, especially if Trae Young asks out. Or he could build around Trae and be kind of a safe steward than a bold visionary. And I think having a dynamic GM like Onsi Saleh to take more of a creative lead would be a good yin and yang. Now, Shareef Abdur-Rahim has deep NBA experience, strong ties to Atlanta from playing days, has revitalized the G League into a premier developmental system. If Atlanta wants to lean heavily into the youth development, Jalen Johnson, Onyeka, Dyson Daniels, he could spearhead a high upside project. No NBA president experience at the highest level is the one downside, and he would be a major risk if the Hawks want immediate playoff contention. I think Elton Brand, I don't like his mixed track record in Philly with controversial trades, cap mismanagement. The Hawks can't afford mistakes now with limited flexibility under the new CBA. So for me, Bob Myers should be Atlanta's top priority if the ownership is serious about winning with Trae Young and preserving future flexibility around Jalen Johnson, Asseo. And if Myers is truly unattainable, I think Tim Connelly would also probably be unattainable, as if you can't pry away Bob Myers, I think it'll be even harder to pry away Tim Connelly from Minnesota. So that would leave John Hammond otherwise as the steady proof in hand for a potential pivot towards the youth and asset like build, with Onsi Saleh being kind of like the guy doing everything, but John Hammond being the adult in the room. That I could see happening. Now, yeah, that's basically it for me right there. I don't think there really is much more for us to talk about. I feel like this one's pretty straightforward with what they want to do here and why. Because they are in this crossroads where they have to decide, do we go all in around Trae, or do we pivot and try to go in a different direction? And I don't think they're going in a different direction because they made it clear that they're going to stay with Trae. But it's all about, can we maximize our team this season or not? And if we can, what needs to be done so that when push comes to shove, we're able to take our team to that next step and be better than what we are currently. So I think that's part of the reason why, we've said this multiple times, I think part of the reason why Landry Fields got canned was they didn't believe he had the chops. Oh, this team is in a position where they can actually be a decent team moving forward. And I don't think they believed that Landry Fields had the ability to take this team to the next level. And that is a result of, I think personally, him just being inexperienced as an executive and wanting someone with a bit more experience. That's why I think Shareef's at the bottom of the list. That's it, guys. Peace.